I think the best one can try to do is to relate our ability to affect the future and remember the past to the more general question of the so-called second law of thermodynamics, that is, the idea that disorder tends to increase with time. Now, there are various ways in which one can try to make a relationship between that and our own abilities, and I think the way I would prefer myself to think of it is that this psychological arrow of time is probably associated with the biological arrow, the fact that we start as small babies and grow larger and eventually die. And that in turn, the fact that biological systems tend to develop in this way is associated with the so-called electromagnetic arrow of time, because plants, for example, and for that matter animals, need to take in sunlight in order to build it. So the light has to be coming out from the sun rather than going into it, and that in turn is probably a special case, in some sense, of the thermodynamic arrow of time, the fact that disorder tends to increase with time. But now, why there should be a particular direction in which disorder increases with time is really, I think, the big question, or one of the big questions. There's a very intense debate which goes on between people who are expert in the area of cosmology about whether the fact that disorder is increasing is associated with the fact that the universe is expanding. We do believe that, for all sorts of reasons, that the universe started off in a state of surprisingly low disorder. And then the question is there some good reason for that? We know that it was very small, or very dense and very hot at the so-called hot Big Bang. But it also seems to be the fact that it was extremely well ordered, extremely smooth, and that the mystery is: is there some underlying reason for that, or did it just happen? Since I have now passed my 70th birthday, I certainly wish that were true, but alas, as far as we know, at present at least, it is not. I personally think that, in some sense which I find difficult to define, the next major revolution in physics will have something to do with the arrow of time, but whether it will actually allow us in any meaningful sense to reverse the arrow of time, I don't know, and I rather doubt it. Well, people sometimes speculate on these things, but certainly if it were true, if it should be true, then we are many decades away from doing so, I think. Well, if we could really change the arrow of time over regions of space and distances in time, which in some sense are meaningful to us as human beings, then I think that would be just totally revolutionary. I mean, I think it's even difficult to imagine what the consequences would be. I think that's a very improbable situation. I think it's conceivable that in some sense, which again I find rather difficult to define, in the distant future we may be able to reverse the arrow of time over short times and for small regions of space. Somehow I very much doubt whether we're going to be able to reverse it overall. If we could, I think things would be so strange that one can't even imagine it.